There are four different attitudes that people may have toward debt. The first is I'm going to make my decisions based off of monthly payments. The second is all debt is evil. I must get rid of all my debt as soon as possible at all costs. Third attitude is, ooh, debt is a tool to become super rich. And then the fourth attitude is kind of boring because it's just you have a balanced opinion of debt. You understand that you're paying interest on debt. You understand it's not great to have debt. You understand that you might have the opportunity to leverage debt, but you're not really feeling strongly one way or the other, and you're responsible with debt, but it doesn't mean you are irresponsible or even just being risky with your debt. So the first type of person would be someone who spends money they don't have on things they don't need, normally on credit cards or personal loans, or maybe just getting a car loan with a very long amortization. And the first type of people, it's very dangerous because many people do fall into this first category, and they've pretty much put themselves in debt prison for life. Because if you have that attitude, there's no way you're going to build any wealth, and you're just going to keep accruing more and more debt, kind of like the United States government. So the second kind of attitude is all debt is evil. Doesn't matter what the interest rate, doesn't matter if there's a forbearance where I don't have to make payments and there's a 0% interest rate. I'm talking about the student loan forbearance that's been going on for a couple of years. Nope, I got to get rid of all debt no matter what at all costs. Now, while I do not believe the second attitude toward debt is the most optimal for building wealth or just from a mathematical point of view, I will say that anyone who has spent any portion of their lives having the first attitude probably needs to have the second attitude. Or maybe not any portion of their lives, but maybe two strikes and you're out. Like maybe the reason why they had attitude one was because they just didn't understand debt, and then all of a sudden they learned about debt and they were able to shift their behaviors and they were able to have more discipline based off of that education. So if it's a one time thing, but it's only because of just the lack of financial literacy knowledge, that's a pass. But if you continuously fall in the first category and it's not just a knowledge problem, it's also a discipline problem, then yes, you do need to have that second attitude because you just aren't responsible enough to handle debt. And if you want any kind of a future, you do need to have that attitude that all debt is evil. So the third type of attitude is debt can make you rich. Let me just leverage as much money as possible, take out all these loans, buy cryptocurrency, buy all the real estate properties, and let me also tell other people to do the same. Um, and I loop that in there because there might be some people that invest in cryptocurrency and invest in real estate using leverage debt, and they actually keep their mouths shut about it. But the vast majority of those people not only do it for themselves, but they also have to preach, kind of like vegans. So I don't like this third attitude because they try to convince other people to make riskier decisions than the person they're trying to convince actually understands. Like real estate income just sounds amazing. What happens if the tenant doesn't pay every month? Or just anything could go wrong. Or what happens if cryptocurrency goes to zero? So there's just so many risks involved that if you're using debt to finance those very, very risky decisions, that only compounds how risky it is. At least if you're using cash to make those decisions, at least you're not taking at least you're not borrowing that money. And yes, you will get a higher rate of return if you're leveraging debt, but the extra risks involved, I don't know. Like for real, I wouldn't say you need to buy rental property with cash, but you've got to have a very, very solid financial footing so that if you have to pay a mortgage on a property where the tenant's not paying, you can easily do it and you're not going to run into problems because you have so much of an income. That's really the only time when I would think it is okay. Another time when it might be okay is if you're taking out a cash out refinance to invest in the stock market because you have a very, very low rate. But again, just because I would give someone permission to do that doesn't mean it's not completely risk free. So, but again, I'm not attitude three. So because if I was attitude three, I'd be yelling at everyone to leverage themselves up to riches. Another thing is it's not just people preaching for the sake of preaching. A lot of them are trying to sell programs and products that help them get rich, and you end up getting screwed twice over because not only are you making the risky real estate decision or the risky cryptocurrency decision, but you're also paying someone for their program and product. So it's kind of ugly. The fourth attitude of people are just a nuanced, balanced approach towards debt, where you understand it's not great, it's not even good, but it's sometimes a necessary evil. You just you take debt seriously, but you don't lose sleep overnight having the debt. That is definitely a key component. And if you are losing sleep over the debt, then and you have that fourth attitude, then maybe either A, you just have a high interest rate on that debt, or B, you have a high principal balance on that debt. And that is a valid reason to be stressed out over your debt. But fourth attitude is very boring because, and it's a lot more nuanced. You can't just make decisions based off of, oh, what's the interest rate, because you're not worried about leveraging, you're worried about having a good balanced approach. And you're also not making the decision, it's like, oh, I just pay down debt no matter what because all debt's evil. So attitude four is a lot more nuanced. I personally follow attitude four. It's very boring, but it's also very quiet. No one talks about the fourth attitude towards debt. So that's why I wanted to bring up that fourth approach that many people may not already be aware of.